Hey guys, just an add-on from Happiness Equals Contrast, how to use contrast in your life to make yourself more happier. Bearing in mind I made a video that happiness is contrast. Also read Jonathan Haidt's book, Happiness Hypothesis. How you can use contrast is doing charity work, real life volunteering, because when you're doing that you're seeing people that are worse off than you, but you're helping other people. So you're helping other people, which is good, but you're helping people that are worse off than you, so that's another good thing. Also, another good way to read contrast bias is to read inspiring stories about people that had nothing, started off in lower places than you. Two examples I can think of: Helen Keller, who lost her sight, hearing, sound and touch, or something like, I think, yeah, sight, and she lost her hearing, so she became deaf and dumb, and yet she managed to overcome what many would perceive would be just a crippling condition that no one could bounce back from, yet she managed to overcome that to achieve so much more than what your average human now, who has sight and who has sound, a hearing, can ever do. So that's inspiring. If you read a book like Helen Keller's autobiography or Optimism, The World I Live In, you're going to be inspired and realise the contrast is going to go like, okay, here's the contrast, here is Helen Keller, she was worse off, yet she did this. So you're contrasting and saying, look, I'm better off, so why can't I do as much, 10 times more than what Helen Keller did? So that's a good contrast bias. Another one is Stephen Hawking's as well. Motor neuron disease ravaged his body, yet left one little piece, his mind, intact. And despite a ravaged body, despite motor neuron disease, he changed the way physics is done. He built on Albert Einstein's work. He wrote a brilliant book called The Brief History of Time. He was an inspiration to many. He still is now. You look at that guy and you think, again, contrast bias. Look at him. He's poor. No, he's not. He's had the really bad cards, and there's me. I haven't. So what can I achieve? Look what he's achieved, bearing in mind his disabilities and what he's had to overcome. So now what can I? So those are good contrast biases. Also, another contrast bias I use quite a lot is the TV. For example, people in worse off situations in all kinds, poor, disabled, all kinds. I'll give you an example actually today. I watched the world's busiest railways. I was watching the one in Delhi, where these kids every single day have to get a train that is packed, a train that's jam-packed. These trains are jam-packed with people, so much so that some of them have to go to the top of the train, which is really dangerous because at the top, one slip and you can die. And apparently the stats were that 40 people a day die in India's railways. That's how dangerous it is. Yet these people have to do it to make a living and to survive. Look at the contrast you're doing there. Look, I live in the first world. I don't have to take my life into my own hands just to get to work. I mean, if you want to use contrast even more, I don't even have to pay money to travel. I just walk to work. You know, I mean, I'm using the contrast of these Delhi kids who are taking their life in their own hands just to survive, and then there's me sitting in this comfortable area right now where nothing bad's going to happen. So yeah, always use contrast bias in your life through books, through TV, and through volunteering and real life, as much as possible to make yourself more happy. And actually, an add-on, the reason why I didn't want to admit this happiness is contrast thing is because I know in my heart that if you were a person that developed gratitude as a muscle constantly, it's something that I'm developing, but I'm very slow at it because I'm so stuck in this kind of ego mode, this reptilian. I'm more psychopath than people ever could imagine. I'm more selfish and more aware. That's the reason why I kind of I know logically that if I develop more gratitude and use it as a muscle, I could actually get away from using contrast bias. Because when you become grateful for like the fact that I'm even here, the fact that, oh shit, I'm alive because I'm going to die constantly, imagine that's going through your brain quite a lot, at least, or even once a day. It doesn't with me, it happens rarely, but the point is it does happen. So imagine that. Imagine I'm just grateful for breathing. Imagine I'm grateful for my family. Imagine I'm grateful just for food. All these things, because that's a muscle that I can train. I can build that up. If you're grateful for everything, you won't need contrast, because your contrast bias will be, holy shit, it'll be from the base level. The fact that I exist is a miracle. If you start with the gratitude of shit, I exist, and everything else is uphill, you won't need contrast bias. But in the meantime, whilst you're developing your gratitude skills, a gratitude muscle, like I said, learning a muscle, gratitude a muscle, all these kind of things, whilst you're building up, keep with the contrast bias, keep watching good TV to get the contrast, keep reading good books, and keep volunteering and helping other people, and using your strengths actually is another good way of contrast bias. Using your strengths, because that way you can use the contrast of your strengths, which are other people's weaknesses, especially if you're on the road to success. For example, you're in self-improvement, you've got loads of willpower, you've got loads of good habits built up, and then every now and again you see guys that aren't taking action, guys that have bad habits, people in bad relationships, or with relationships with girls that are way below what they're capable of, guys that aren't pushing themselves, girls that are all messed up and don't want to fix themselves, all that kind of thing. Just remember, contrast is important. Peace.